Let's talk today about doing versus being mode. What does that mean? So, humans have two modes. One is doing and one is being. So, doing is something we're all very comfortable and familiar with. Doing is when we're in the mode of planning, organizing, making structure, planning, problem solving, outcome based, creating goals, looking at step by step. That is doing mode. What should be next? You know, when your brain goes to like, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store first because then I'm going to be on that side of town and then I can pick up this. That is doing mode. And that mode is actually really brilliant and it gets a lot of shit done for us. The other mode though, however, is being mode, where we're just being still and complacent and content with where and who we are, and we're just experiencing what it feels like to be alive in our bodies as us. Even as I say it, doesn't that feel so foreign? So for us, we are completely and totally and utterly out of whack and out of balance because our society prioritizes doing mode and productivity. It does not prioritize or even consider being mode, which is rest, regeneration, recalibration, creation, spontaneity, going with the flow, allowing, being open, allowing ourselves to be surprised, taking the next step based on whatever step presents itself in this moment, being present. Those things are not integrated into our culture and they are not something that we prioritize. However, when we prioritize the doing mode constantly, we get sick and we aren't as successful as we want to be, even though in our heads we know what's possible for us. When we start to integrate the two or balance the two, that's when we really realize what it's like to be alive. As we integrate doing and being mode, we learn what it is to be human. Human is not a production machine. Human is not something that we just move and keep at it and chip away and what's next and this like consistent railroad track of a life. Human is both. Human is moving forward on the railroad track and moving forward with moving on to the next stop, while also taking the next stop and resting. So, for example, this is where we get it mixed up. If you're lying in bed and trying to fall asleep and you're thinking about all the shit that you need to do the next day, or you're thinking about all the stuff you didn't do, or you're ruminating on the conversations that you had, or that you didn't send this email, or did that sound nasty, when you're doing that, you're bringing doing mode into an experience that is supposed to be being. Falling asleep is a surrender, where you're experiencing just being who you are in this moment and being open to whatever comes next, ideally sleep. And when we integrate or somehow, I want to say bully, that's the vision that's coming to me. We bullied doing mode into that being mode situation. Things get all messed up and things get awry. And therefore, we find it very difficult to fall asleep and stay asleep. That's just one example of how we do not use the correct mode at the correct time. Another example is with feelings. Feelings occur or should be handled in the being mode. Feelings are meant to be felt. They are not meant to be fixed. And when we bring doing mode into our feelings, it is us trying to fix them, trying to solve them as problems when they're not problems. And that's when real problems arise, like anxiety and depression, is when we feel something and we try to fix it, or we try to solve it, or we try to get it to go away, or we somehow create this formula of what to do with it, instead of just being with it. Feelings are meant to be felt. You are meant to be in being mode when you are feeling something, when something is coming up. You are not meant to figure out ways of how to get rid of it. And so we have to get ourselves out of this consistent and chronic doing mode situation. We have to allow ourselves to integrate this being and this relaxing and this ability to notice when our body needs a break, when our brain needs a break, and then doing it, and then providing it, and then giving the space for us to be in that mode and not feeling guilty for it, not feeling like there should be something we should be doing, not filling it with something else, like, well, maybe I should read now, maybe I should take a course, maybe I should cook at the same time as I'm trying to listen to my kid's story about the day. There are places and times for being mode, and there are places and times for doing mode. And when you figure out what those are for your life will significantly change. Everything around you will be easier, will seem a little more effortless, and everything will be brighter because you're well rested enough to go into the doing mode. And while you're in the doing mode, you've created something and you've allowed for a structure so that when you're in the being mode, you can actually utilize it. But what is the point in creating this structure and planning and organizing and agenda if we're not going to sit back and use it?